What's up, guys? Alright, so I got a quick review for you. Basically, this is the build that I'm running. Now, again, the idea here is to try and get as much gear as you can possible that is in direction of what you were after. So I'll go ahead and pick up some lamps here and I'll kind of show you what I'm basically querying for. It's basically combo and crit and then whatever you can get. Now, I'm running, as far as the actual sets go, okay, it's 70% crit, 94% combo, and you can see here I've got a fair bit dunked into HP and attack, and to make up for it, this is the current set that I'm running, and this is what I'm running for souls, and then for the actual pals, this is the pal lineup, and then this is what I'm running for the skills. Now, as far as the actual star array goes, this is what I'm currently testing out to kind of see what I can get away with. But these are all active skills, so active skills will all get applied. And then as for the actual talents, basically just picking up evasion as much as I can, combo damage, crit, and then filling up the HP boost tabs wherever you can, up to 15, and eventually I'll get those all up to 20. That's kind of the idea. And then from there, I currently use Fallen Angel as a look, but I actually prefer using Alien Dimension as far as the actual, I want to say the boost is concerned. Now, I am working on kind of swapping this out, but if you do decide to use like Sky God, for example, it's works great in terms of what you'll gain out of it, because what you can basically do is kick off some damage every couple times, but ideally you'd be better off grabbing something like, so like for example, I could poke around in here and probably find a Midnight Firefly that has what I'd be wanting, but basically you'd be looking for Meteor Feather, Crowd Combo, and like here, Squishy Master and combo. Like I could kick it off with Midnight Firefly, and I'll go ahead and reset this one, kind of show you what I'm talking about. So you just, in this case I got a reset with 2, which is fine, and then basically now you have a couple of different options. Like you could go Anubis if you wanted to. The main benefit of using like Midnight Firefly here is that you're going to get a chunk of this back in the form of reducing damage resistance. This is kind of helpful when you're wanting to basically do more damage. Alternatively, right, you could also approach this with Moonshine or Moonbound. Moonbound. And in that case, then you're just going to target their HP. I, for one, have a preference for kind of more in favor of like going for things that are going to give you bonuses to your actual attack stat. Now, you may be thinking, well, what about if I, use something like 3-round shooter? And that's an option too, because here you can get AoE damage every 4 combos. And, then you can tack on, like, say, Poisoned Arrow. All around isn't all that helpful, though. You'd really almost kind of have to pay very close attention to, like, what, if any, affixes you can get on these avians. But, most of the time, people, what they'll do is, on the PvP end of things, they'll go down the Sunshine Bringer route, and they'll actually grab debuff immunity and try to get all those wonderful buffs that come along with it. But for PvE in particular, what I really genuinely prefer is something like Midnight Firefly with a combination like these. Now, there are some other ones in here that I have, like Terminal Strike, for example, where you can get a chance to wound. This is helpful if you're going against, like, bosses or even other players that are really kind of trying to tackle their regen build. Like, to be anti-regen, that's kind of how you want to try to approach it. And again, you can see a lot of these, as far as the actual affixes are concerned, they're not very good. I mean, this one's probably the best one of the bunch, because you're just going to get crit resistance, super crowd, and rage. So like if I use this one, partly because of the growth, right? If I just use this, I bet you I can probably get quite a ways up there. And I can show you what I'm talking about. So we'll go all the way. So we're right up at 80. And then when you've got it set up like that, then you're going to get a really good global combo, really good global combo from the one-sided attack, and then crit resistance and rage bonus. And, ooh, this looks like something I would want. Yeah, I'll take that. That's been something I've been wanting for a while. So, with something like that, and then with, that in particular, I do like to think you got to have some way to heal. Now, I can use the Castle Candelabrum, but if you're wanting damage, you want to probably go Flaming Carnage. If you're free to play, you'll probably go Chaotic Warlord's Hammer. But if you go with something like this, you get a stupid amount of bleed damage. And since that on its own right is pretty advantageous, you're going to have a lot of damage. Now, if we go and hit challenge here, we can actually kind of get an idea of just if that's going to be enough. A lot of the time, you'll struggle a little bit because you just don't have enough HP to kind of kill down the bosses. But as you can see, you can really quickly mulch a lot of different, as far as like actually getting through the stages themselves is really not anywhere near as bad as, now if you go into Molten Ruins though, that's where it becomes a little bit more of a heavy cost. But yeah, like that's another good piece. And we'll trade the evasion for 101% combo now. So now we've got the maximum amount of combo that we can have possible. That's really good. And with these all in tandem together like that, you'll see that even though my evasion's at 92% and crit's at 70 and a combo's at 100, you also want to try to bring up your crit damage as much as you can. And you also want to bring up your combo multiplier, which in my case is at 32k. So that's pretty good. Now, as far as the actual class awakening is concerned, I mean, this is how I've balanced it, and I really focus heavy on the amount of HP I have. Like, I go very, very heavy on that, and then with what's left, I'll either throw that into global attack or defense. A lot of the time defense, because you just don't have enough defense in this build because it's a little on the flakier side, but that's kind of the idea with it, is you want to try and strive for that as much as possible. And once you've really kind of gotten it all flavored out like that, I mean, this is what I'm running and it works great. I mean, there's not really a whole lot you have to adjust. And the main thing is you're just wanting to try and spike up the amount of crit and combo you have. And the rest is history. And I mean, again, I prefer using the Pyre Breaker. If you've got to choose an item in here, Pyre Breaker is going to be great. Now, you could conceivably go around like using Magic Carpet and stun. You can try it that way and see, rather than using evasion. I mean, the benefit of using evasion really is just that you'll see a lot of the time the basic attacks coming off the pals is pretty common. But like, see here, we've got 6.8 and then some evasion instead of pal crit. We'll go ahead and swap for that because that's going to be a little bit more advantageous for us. We're going to get a little bit more crit and we get more evasion, which is worth it in the end. But again, that's kind of the thinking of how I've been kind of building this around, is by combining these together like that. It really, really, really works out great in PvE. Now, if you're wanting to try and make a PvP focused version of this build, I mean, really about all you change is you swap to those type of skills, and I swatch those over to those, and then that's, yeah. Now, as far as like the statue is concerned, I'm just using all global combo, and this kind of gives you an idea of what I'm using for PvP. So you can see I use Cheetah Zero, Alien Dimension, and then I actually throw, again, the Star Array down there. But you'll notice that I do need to switch back to the plan, because as you can see, it's still using this, which we don't want anymore. And that's like the only thing you really have to tweak. But, so like if you run this build and you hop into PvP and you just start random challenging, you'll tend to find this works pretty well. And again, you know, it's flakier, but it's not bad. And that's just with the Flaming Carnage. Now you could, you know, if you're in PvP and you're wanting to, you know, maybe double up on the amount of advantages that you give yourself. Because again, you'll notice that I actually have the preset set for PvP and Arena. It's all PvP all the way through. So yeah, that should all be correct. Interesting that it didn't apply. I'm not sure what the deal is. Let me go to PvE and then go back to PvP. For some mysterious reason, it doesn't want to change. Oh, I guess it keeps the... Okay, it changes the actual... Okay, that's fine. I'm like, why is it doing that? And it's like, no, it changes it. I'm just not... Apparently, it just keeps the image of it, which is fine. But yeah, I mean, this is kind of how it works out in PvP. And it works great. Like, I've not really had a whole lot of trouble with this build. You know, now, you will run into situations like this where... You know, run into somebody that's really tanky or they're like shield oppressive, and those are kind of more difficult to approach just because the way they're designed. I haven't run into a lot of solutions for these like smage regen players other than to basically try and knock them out. But, you know, again, just with something like that, you can work your way up the rankings and then pick up an awakening crystal every week and you'll be doing just fine. Other than that, that's pretty much the build. Thank you guys for watching.